About a month ago, I filmed a video all about bare root fruit and nut trees. Why you should grow them, what their advantages are, if there are any disadvantages, what you need to know before you purchase them, how to go about planting them, and where to get them. Now, I tried to give you all the important information about bare root fruit and nut trees without going off in any stray tangents, but it still turned out to be a pretty long video. And that's why I haven't published it even though it's been several weeks. I finally decided to take this really long video and divide it into 4 separate videos. Not only does it make it a lot shorter and easier to digest, but it's also better for those of you who are only interested in a certain aspect of bare root fruit and nut trees. Hi, I'm Kim, and this is all of City Oasis, my 2.5-acre property here in Northern California where I grow perennial veggies and herbs and an ever-expanding fruit and nut tree orchard. Now, when I filmed this video back in the beginning of February, it was still cold and pouring rain here, so I filmed it inside. But as you can see, spring has arrived now, and I am so much enjoying this sunshine. The pluot and plum trees are looking so beautiful in blossom, and I finally got around to planting some of my own new bare root fruit and nut trees. Yesterday, I even did a video showing myself planting my new Bare Root Nectarine, just in case you would like to see the process, how simple it can be. So I'll link that video down in the description below and also at the end of this video if you're interested. But for now, let's get on with today's video topic. It's going to be the first in the series of 4 all about bare root fruit and nut trees. And this number 1 video is all about why you should grow bare root fruit and nut trees rather than potted ones. Now, there are 6 great advantages to planting bare root fruit trees rather than potted fruit trees that you should know before you make the decision whether to go ahead and order some bare root fruit trees or go down to your local nursery and get some, or pay extra and get those bigger, what look like more established potted ones. But are they really? So the first big advantage to getting bare root fruit trees as opposed to potted ones is that they are much less expensive. 30 to 50% less, in fact. And if you're ordering online, the much lighter bare root fruit trees will cost you so much less in shipping than the obviously much heavier potted fruit trees. The second big advantage to buying bare root fruit trees as opposed to potted fruit trees is that you will get a much larger selection from which to choose. It just stands to reason potted fruit trees take up a lot more space. Bare root fruit trees, on the other hand, they can cram so many of those into one little space. You just have a much, much larger selection from which to choose the very varieties you want for your home orchard. Now, the third great advantage to getting bare root fruit trees rather than potted fruit trees sounds a little counterintuitive, but it's true. Bare root fruit trees have a much bigger root system than potted fruit trees, up to 200% more, depending on where you get them from. Now, the fourth big advantage to bare root fruit trees as opposed to potted fruit trees will seem pretty obvious, but when you really think about it, it comes into play a lot. And it makes a big difference in the convenience for you, both in transporting the tree and in planting it. And that is, the potted fruit tree is very big and awkward compared to the bare root fruit tree. Not to mention so much heavier. So transporting it, if you get it at a local nursery in your car, can be very problematic. It can be very difficult to get that tree into your car. Even if it is a minivan or a pickup truck, some of those pots are very large, but again, also awkward. Whereas the bare root fruit trees, it's a stick with some roots on the bottom. You can just get that in any old which way, and you can prune that bare root fruit tree at the nursery when you buy it quite a bit. And so you can even fit bare root fruit trees into little tiny cars. Now, that smaller, more portable size makes planting convenient too. That is, you can actually plant bare root trees very easily with just yourself, just one person. Whereas potted fruit trees, some of them especially, will require 2 people, maybe even 3, to do a good job of planting them. Now, the fifth advantage to getting bare root fruit trees rather than potted fruit trees is probably the one I think is the most important, the biggest advantage. And that is your bare root fruit trees don't come packed in soil, obviously. So they don't need to adapt from the kind of soil they're in to the soil that you have at your place. You're putting those roots directly into your soil. They just acclimate immediately, and that's what you want. You don't want the root system to stay, as it often does with a potted plant, right within the soil it came in. It ends up going in circles, creating a dense, crowded root ball that often will stunt the plant, maybe even kill it. Instead, you're going to be able to place the bare root fruit tree right into your soil. You're not going to put any amendments in because, again, that would encourage the roots to stay right there where all that good stuff is. You're going to want them to go out, to reach outward for nutrition. So you're going to fill that hole in with native soil, no amendments, and then mulch it well, water it well, and then you'll be set to go. Which leads us to the sixth advantage of getting bare root fruit trees rather than potted fruit trees, and that is your bare root fruit trees you plant in the dormant season. They're not growing yet. You get them in the ground and they have time to settle in. They have time to spread their roots. They have time to get used to their new home. And then they are ready to take off when spring does hit. But you still have time to get your own bare root fruit and nut trees. It is still early spring with plenty of cool weather and much more rain to come for most of you. And if you do live in a very mild climate like me, though, you definitely want to get on the ball and get out there and get your fruit and nut trees. Now be sure to watch the other videos in this series, including the one on how to plant your bare root fruit and nut trees and where to buy them. Now, if you have any specific questions on this topic, be sure to include them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them for you. I hope you're having a wonderful week wherever you are. And until next time, happy gardening.